XRP just hit an all-time high. Not what you're hoping for, but I'll explain what hit an all-time high, how that could affect XRP and the price action of XRP going forward. Plus, people are getting excited about tomorrow. Coinbase CEO, Ripple CEO, David Zack, a lot of people are getting really excited. We'll talk about that and what's happening, but we're going to start out with what made the crypto market sell off a little bit here this morning was the PPI, right? I know you guys were hoping for a good PPI, but the PPI was pretty bad. And that's why we saw the crypto market sell off. It's interesting because stocks are kind of a mixed bag. I'll show you in just a second. But as soon as it came out, crypto was like, no, nosedive. We'll look at that. But first here, PPI inflation for April surges to 6%, well above expectations of 4.9 and the highest level since January of 2023. Core PPI inflation rose to 5.2, above the expectations of 4.3. Both CPI and PPI inflation are now at 3+ year highs. Odds are rate hikes are rising. And of course, this affected XRP. So as soon as the data came out, you can see actually it started selling off a little bit before, right, beforehand. But as soon as the data came out, right, we were right here. XRP was at 144 and it dropped all the way down to 141, about a 2.5% pullback. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? 330 my time, and we sold off. We have seen a little bit of recovery here, but it's all across the board. And Solana, that has been doing very, very good over the past few days, was already at 95, right? 98 even. It's pulled back all the way to 90. So you're seeing when things go up aggressively, when there's quote unquote bad news, they sell off accordingly. And so interesting. I wonder, like, if we go to the liquidations, let's see, over the last 12 hours, where is the Solana? 26 million. Yeah, makes sense. 25 million liquidated on the long. XRP only 4.64 million. That's why I think we're seeing XRP hold a little bit better. But again, XRP didn't have the same rise that Solana had. So, it's the good and the bad. I try to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So we'll see potentially what happens here in the next coming days, going into tomorrow, what could potentially happen with the Clarity Act, how that could potentially affect what's going on there. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a very interesting scenario to see how the price action reacts to tomorrow. Will it be a situation of, maybe there's well, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting noises in my ears. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll shut off the desktop for a second. I'll have to remember to resume it later when we listen to what Coinbase CEO had to say. If they're going to live stream the Clarity Act markup, what gets passed, what gets rejected, on the markup there, I don't think it's live stream. I think it's like closed doors. If it is live stream, then it could affect the prices. But as soon as it passes, and people are saying, and you'll hear Coinbase CEO in just a second, it seems that it's 99% going through to the next phase. With the new amendments or without the new amendments, it depends on what happens there at the markup, right? And then it will be very interesting to see where we can potentially go from there. As always, I just want to remind you that this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. I don't know how the price action is going to be tomorrow. I didn't know what the PPI was going to be today. So just reminding you there that I'm not a prophet, okay? I don't know how things are going to play out. But, the community, the people are very, very bullish. Brad Garlinghouse says here, the Senate Banking Committee is putting in the work as it moves the Clarity Act forward. Incredible leadership. Millions of Americans are ready in this market. Ripple stands behind this bill because they deserve the same rules and protection as every other asset class. The largest economy in the world is going to lead crypto, and it must. This is the moment. Let's get it done. And you can see Senator Tim Scott, replying, everyone replying to that. I forgot about this. We'll get to that in just a second. But we also had Eleanor telling us that following the submission of more than 100 amendments to the Clarity Act last night, Fund DeFi is tracking what it describes anti-DeFi amendments that it said it would harm the DeFi technology user and developers, and is urging supporters to lobby senators against them ahead of tomorrow's markup. So again, things might pass, things might not pass, but people are very bullish, and you can see even David Sachs. Here's tomorrow markup is a monumental step in making the U.S. crypto capital of the world, right? And also Stuart Alderati says 67 Americans hold crypto today, and every U.S. senator on the Senate Banking Committee represents them. Let's get it passed. And this is what Coinbase CEO had to say. Let's take a listen. I got to bring back the sound. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Well, there's been a compromise, and so it's a true compromise because both sides left a little bit unhappy. And so on this stablecoin rewards issue in particular, we met the asks of the bank lobby and the Senate, and they said they don't want to have any rewards paid on idle balances. And so we came up with this compromise or concession that rewards could be paid as long as there was some sort of material activity on the account, like a payment or a trade that had taken place. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Senators also Brooks and Tillis and their staff who worked tirelessly on this to bring both sides together and reach this compromise. I think it's in the best place that we've seen so far, and the other issues that I brought up in January have also been resolved. And so at this point, we're ready to support a markup later this week.
So you're expecting the markup Thursday?
That's correct.
Yeah, and Brian, I want to get your take on this because, there are other obstacles here, and I wonder what the Senate Agriculture Committee has to say about all of this. They'll weigh in as well, correct?
That's correct. There's a role here for both Senate Banking and Senate Ag. Senate Ag already had their markup earlier this year, and it did pass. Now, if the Senate Banking Committee goes through later this week, then it goes to the full Senate floor. And that's what we're hoping to have happen in the coming months, just as you saw Tim Scott mention earlier on your program.
And you've said on the call after you reported your results for the your first quarter, that this is an opportunity to help institutions onboard onto the Coinbase ecosystem. Tell us what that means. What are you expecting in terms of other institutions wanting to onboard?
Yeah, well, I go around and I speak with lots of different bank CEOs, and many of them are just leaning into this as an opportunity to grow their business. They're integrating stablecoins as fast as they can. They understand that their clients want access to crypto assets, and all these funds are now being tokenized, and it's just going to make everything more efficient in the financial system. So I truly believe that this is an opportunity for American companies, including the banks. We're very invested in their success. They're invested in our success, by the way. They've been working with us as partners in many different ways for the last 14 years. And so we're at a place now where all American companies can finally start to build this industry. My hope is that with this legislation getting through, we're all going to be able to work together a little bit more collaboratively.
Now, when you look...
So that's over there. It was funny. My wife sent me a message exactly when it was over. It's like, oh, what happened there? This is part of the Avi experience on WhatsApp. So like he said, there's still the Agriculture Committee that, that part, if we pass the markup tomorrow, they're going to have to combine it, and then it will go to the full Senate floor. So tomorrow is the big thing, because that's the trigger that sent the crypto market down back in January, was Coinbase pulling out and the banking committee markup getting postponed from January, right? We're already in May, and it took them from January to May just to get their stuff together after Coinbase pulled out and the banks didn't like it, and it was a whole thing, right? So hopefully this goes through tomorrow with whatever amendments. Hopefully the ones that Senator Warren put in get rejected, but it will be very interesting. Now, we do also have President Trump and China cheese are expected to weigh tariff cuts on 30 billion of imports in U.S.-China summit this week. Remember, what triggered October 10th, if you remember, was Trump saying he was going to put high tariffs on China. Well, think about it. If the meeting goes good and they say no tariffs, like, could that, with Clarity Act continuing forward, like, this could be the perfect storm right now for the crypto market. But again, we'll see. not a prophet. I don't know exactly what is going to happen. And it's interesting, like I told you, XRP and Solana ETF just had a better day than Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. On May 12th, XRP pulled in 5.3, and Solana ETFs had 19 million in net inflows. At the same time, Bitcoin lost 233 million, and Ethereum saw 130 million outflows. So Bitcoin and Ethereum saw outflows, whereas XRP and Solana saw inflows, interestingly. I wonder what we'll see today after the pullout on Solana there. I think Solana is not going to be in inflows, but it will be very interesting to see what happens there. And we also got this information. This is the all-time high I teased at the beginning of the video. XRP Ledger hits an all-time high of 332,000 wallets holding at least 10,000 XRP, signaling growing conviction from larger holders even amid months of price uncertainty. So it's interesting. We're seeing big holders, right? But the price action is coming down. So what I think is going on here is you had people that owned XRP at lower levels when XRP was around 50 cents and things like that, right? And XRP went up significantly. Retail jumped in, but didn't hold. And then right now we're seeing that many XRP big holders are adding to their bags. I think that's what's happening. So that's why we're seeing more and more wallets holding 10,000 XRP. Now, 10,000 XRP is about $14,000 of XRP. Again, that's not a huge amount, but it's a significant amount of XRP. People will say 10,000 XRP is all you need. I don't know. All you need for what? Depending on where XRP eventually goes. But it's a very interesting situation that could potentially play out here in the next coming weeks. We'll see how everything plays out. Don't forget to smash the like button. Check out the links in the description down below. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.